Hello, BookTube. You can probably guess from the title of this video of my May reads that I'm going to talk about books that I read in May. Well, there was only 5 books that I read in May. Yeah, so I'm just going to go in order of the ones I liked the least to the ones I liked the most. The first book I'm going to talk about is The King of Bones and Ashes. The prologue was really good. Like, the story is about this family in New Orleans who is living in a time where magic has progressively weakened. The magic in New Orleans, the witches there, aren't as powerful as they used to be, and there's no real reason given as to why they're no longer as powerful. It's just saying that over time their power has weakened. And so you're hearing the blurb of the book. Like, if I was to describe it in like a couple sentences, I would say it's about a family in New Orleans who struggles with the loss of power and a haunting ghosts. Basically, it was a really bad book, okay? It's a fantasy novel that takes place in New Orleans. Of all places for fantasy novels to take place, why would it be so bad, right? I gave it a 2 stars, I think. Yeah, because 1 star for me is like I didn't finish the book. 2 stars is literally the lowest rating I will give a book that I have completely finished. And that's because nothing really ever happened. There was no climax. It like stayed steadily boring throughout the whole book. It talks like the beginning of the book is about this girl, Alice, and she's like the last in her generation or in her family line to inherit a strong amount of powers. And it's talking about what she can do with those powers. And her background story is really dark, and there's a lot of death in her family, but like unanswered questions as to why certain family members are dying. And I just thought it would be a lot better than it was. You know, any book that has New Orleans and witches and just overall a magical world, like for example House of the Rising Sun, love Crescent City, love all the fantasy novels that take place there. I just thought there's no way it could be bad, right? This one was bad. And I read a couple of people's reviews on Goodreads where they say similar things, so I don't want to get too in depth in like the summary of the book. I want to talk about the books. That's basically all I have to say about King of Bones and Ashes. I expected it. I had high expectations for this book, and I was just let down. If you've read it, I want to hear what you have to say about it. I just don't think I can really talk about it because I just found it so boring. So that's the worst book I read in May. The rest of these I gave at least 3 stars. The next one I'm going into is Terra and the Imperium. It's actually the 3rd book in a series, and I listened to all 3 as an audiobook. The first book is about planet Earth. Like, in the future, it's no longer called Earth, or it is still called Earth, but they call like all the countries on Earth collectively Terra. So it's like the Terra Imperium. And the first book is about these aliens attack Earth, and they're like, we're going to take over Earth for you guys. You're doing fine on your own, but we want to conquer you. And UESF, United Earth Space Force, is collectively getting together to try and stop these aliens from taking over Earth. And one of the ship captains, Annette Bond, she is the last, her and 2 other ships are the last 3 ships to go against the attacking aliens. And instead of, when they realize they have no chance of winning, it's better to leave and then come back and fight another day, they do just that. They leave and go into outer space and try to learn as much as they can about these aliens before they try to face them, if they decide to face them. And the first book is just about their journey in space, and it kind of just starts there. Like, it kind of just sets you off there. It's a well-done sci-fi fantasy cloud farming in Wales. This book, oh my gosh, it was really short. It was probably 180 pages if I'm guessing correctly. And I picked up this book because the cover is just so interesting. I love clouds, I love weather, I love traveling and learning about new places. And I just love learning about Wales in this book, like not just the country and the animal, like both. And he talks really funny. He uses homophones. For example, I proceed with a lopping gate, a gate I've always been fond of despite the fact it squeaks and needs oiling. I usually keep it unlocked, and that lopping gate of mine. I'm just like the whole book is like 50% of it is sentences like that. It reminds me of Cannery Row by Steinbeck. It's not as hard to read as Steinbeck, like probably because it's shorter. Like whenever I read Cannery Row, even though it was a short book, it still took time because, I don't know, for me, contemporary always takes longer to read. If there's one thing I can take away from this book, is that it rains a lot in Wales. Whether that's true, we don't know. One of my favorite quotes from the book, "Shadows need regular exercise, no matter how tired their owners may be." Shadows do need regular exercise. Have you exercised your shadows today? Like, exercise your shadow. What the? No, this work isn't a conventional fiction with characters and a plot. It's just me saying us stuff about things. That actually is very accurate about the book. That's a quote from the book. No, this work is not a conventional fiction. It's not. It's just definitely not. He's just talking about a bunch of things. And I love it. It's just so... It's funny. It was just a simple summer read. Kind of got me into the mode for summer. And, like, I didn't have to think too seriously about stuff. But it was still, like, really entertaining. It wasn't very dark. It was just light and fun and a simple read. Now, the next book we're getting into, oh, man. Oh man, this is my 4-star book, which means I could really talk about this one. I really loved it. This is Warcross. So basically, Warcross is about this girl who is a computer hacker and a bounty hunter, and like kind of, it's not really like a futuristic, like this could really be today, like this could, if we had the technology, this is not so much of a stretch, like she's a Manhattan bounty hunter with rainbow hair who rides a beat-up hoverboard, and she brings a book with her on her travels because she can't afford any other type of entertainment, and books are cheap, and sometimes when you're bounty hunting, you're waiting a lot. So in the first, 50 pages of the book, where you're introduced to the main character, you're learning about everything she has to go through, like how broke she is, how desperate she is for money. And the main character is Amika Chen. And Amika has it rough. Amika needs the funds. Warcross is a game. It's a virtual reality game. You put on your virtual reality glasses, and you can either watch the game or participate in the game. She sees a rare item pop up in the game. Now this is after she'd been bounty hunting for the whole day and narrowly missed a catch, and she's 72 hours away from being evicted from her apartment, and she's really desperate when she sees this very rare item pop up in the Warcross game. So in her hacker account, her null account, she decides to hack into the game to steal this rare item. And somehow she figures out how to hack into the game, which is already a major accomplishment because it's really hard to hack into in general. The security's off the charts because this is a worldwide event. Everyone in the world watches this game. Everyone puts on their virtual reality glasses to just watch this game. So then she decides to steal this piece. She gets it, but the second she grabs this rare piece, she interferes with the game and her real identity is revealed. And when it happens, they quickly steal it back from her, so it ends up being pointless because she didn't get to take it out with her, she didn't get to sell it on the black market, she just kind of got stuck, exposed as a great hacker. And so when this happens, the guy who created Warcross, Haido Tanaka, he contacts Amika and is like, hey, I want you to come work for me. Because it's a book. She's thinking, oh crap, I'm gonna get arrested. She's gonna lose everything. It was already bad for her. She thought for sure her life was over now. And when Haido, this is a book, so that's not how it's gonna work. But Haido calls her and he's like, I want you to come work for me. I want you to be my hacker. We've been having some problems here at Warcross, and you seem to have a good grasp on figuring things out. So she does just that. Gets on a plane to go to Tokyo to meet Haido, and he pays off her rent for the next year, so her and her roommate are blown away because they don't have to pay rent for a year. He pays for her to fly first class. When she gets there, he gives her a credit card, you need anything. And she already has a closet full of nicer clothes than she's ever worn, so she's I really don't need anything. There's food, clothes, water. She's already overwhelmed because she has the nicest stuff she could imagine having. The author does an excellent job of describing the transition from very poor to very wealthy, and how a lot of times I see lose their character's backstory as the story progresses. The Hunger Games is a comparative example of this. Katniss never she never loses the fact that she was poor, but I've read a lot of novels where once they kind of get money, it's as if they forgot being poor, as if they were never poor, and it's almost as if the author just did that poor segment to be relatable. Mary Lou does a good job of making Amika Chen come off as poor and understanding when she has money what it was like how she doesn't need to spend money anymore because she's richer than she could ever imagine. She needed $5,000 to pay off all of her life's debts and her father's debts from his medical bills, and Heido just pays it off like it's nothing, and she's kind of mad at him for it, but at the same time, like, overwhelmed that someone can just throw away that much money as if it's nothing. Like, I enjoyed it. It was number 2 out of all the books I read in May. It definitely was a fast read, and the next one's coming out in September, I believe. I'm really excited for it because the first one was just so good and the ending was so good, and I could really do a book talk just about Warcross. Number 5. So, the 5th book that I read this as a Kindle book, so I don't have my notes in my normal format. The Hate U Give. Wow. I'd seen lots of reviews for this book, and people were saying I loved it, it was really good, it was fantastic, realistic, just all these things, and I was just kind of like, yeah, sure. So I was skeptical to read it just because of that, but I had watched a couple people give good book talks or good book reviews on them, and they were really good book reviews. So it's about this girl, Star. She goes to a party one night with this girl, and Star, like, sees one of her childhood friends, Khalil, at the party. He comes in and, like, they're talking for a little bit, and then they hear a gunshot, and so, like, everyone at the party, like, runs out, like a normal person would do if they heard a gunshot in the room they were in, run for the door. And so in that process, they get out to his car, and they're talking, and they talk about Tupac and his thug life, which turns out to be inspires, like, the title of the book. Thug is the hate you give. This is hard to do. Being black in America and anywhere in the world is not easy, can be difficult, and this book made me look at that. It made me think of the things that I go through and that people I know have gone through, and just really raw and really real. So she's in the car with Khalil, and a police officer pulls him over and asks for license and registration and pulls him out of the car, like physically pulls him out of the car when Khalil kind of is like being aggressive. And she does a good, the author does a good job of describing like how Star is like, oh my gosh, his parents didn't give him the police talk as a kid. They didn't tell him when the police ask you something, you show your hands at all times, you remain calm, you just do whatever you can to make sure they know you're not going to be in trouble. So she's kind of panicking for him from the get-go because she sees him doing all this stuff wrong, and he ends up being shot. He's shot 3 times because when the police officer walked back to his car, Khalil tried to get back into his car to ask Star how she was doing, and he had just asked her how she was, and that's when she sees him get shot and crumble to the floor. And the whole book, that's just where the whole book takes off from there. Each segment of the book, like part 1 and part 2 and part 3, are all like weeks afterward. I think it's like 3 weeks after it, 5 weeks after it, and it's just like that. It's really relatable. Like, I've never seen someone get shot in front of me, but there's other parts of the book where she's dealing with some friends who aren't really friends, and just things people say, like, she goes to a school that's really nice in a really nice area, but she lives in the hood, so she sees both sides, like, basically every day. And the reason this book, like, changed my life, because it kind of made me face certain things I hadn't been able to face before. It made me face the fact that I'm always going to be black, no matter what. But yeah, she's the only black girl in her school, and it just made me think about a lot of the things I don't want to talk about. I don't want to get into it here. I just want to say that if you grew up thinking of yourself as less than or unimportant, or as if your story didn't matter because of your skin color, regardless of what skin color you are, this book does a good job of reminding you that you're important too, and you have a voice, you have things to say, and you shouldn't let anyone tell you that you're less than just because of something you can't control. The way the message was delivered. There's so many other ways that it could have been delivered, and it wouldn't have been as effective to me. So, I think that just about sums it up. Did you guys read any of these books? If you haven't, you should definitely check out The Cloud Farming in Wales, Warcross, and The Hate U Give. You should check out those 3 books for sure. And you should check out the original, like, Duchy of Terra if you want a good audiobook, because it's really good too. It's really good sci-fi. That's it. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a good day. Hope you check out some books. Bye. A sneak peek, that's what you call it. A sneak peek for what's coming for a wrap-up of my June reading. So far, I have read Furyborn, and I'm not impressed. If you want to watch why I'm not impressed, or know why I'm not impressed, you should watch my video on Furyborn. Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. Okay. You can probably... I didn't think this through.